Rubbing my eyes vigorously failed to alter the scene unfolding before me. The moment my gaze fixed upon it, I found myself doing not just a double take, but a triple take. What lay before my eyes was our house, but it had undergone a transformation and expansion that left it looking markedly different from before. Let me introduce myself. I'm May, a 43-year-old working housewife. I've shared 15 years of marriage with my husband Jim. Though we've been unable to welcome children into our lives, it hasn't dimmed the happiness we share as a couple. As long as we upheld the promise made before our marriage, I believed our bond would remain unshakable. Having lost my parents at a young age, my in-laws became my sole parental figures. Our relationship had been strong, and our houses were conveniently situated, just a 10-minute bike ride apart. This proximity played a crucial role in maintaining our close-knit family ties. However, the delicate balance was disrupted with the sudden passing of my father-in-law. His collapse at home resulted in an unfortunate demise at the hospital, leaving my mother-in-law grief-stricken. To support her during this challenging time, my husband and I took turns caring for her. Our efforts bore fruit, and within 6 months, her emotional well-being improved. As my professional responsibilities grew, I initially viewed it as a positive development. Little did I know, the peace was short-lived. My mother-in-law's visits to our house surged dramatically, becoming a daily ritual without respite. During the bustling morning hours, she would freely let herself in, using the spare key I had regretfully given her, insisting that she was there to tend to the house and urging me to head to work without worry. Faced with this daily intrusion, I contemplated discussing the matter with my husband. However, his absence upon my return from work, coupled with his early departure and late return, made finding an opportune moment for that conversation challenging. In his place, my mother-in-law awaited, asserting her intention to look after the house. She lingered throughout the entire day, and one evening, utterly drained to the point of speechlessness, I returned home. The shock hit me as I entered the bedroom to change, my exclamation of surprise likely echoing through the house. A colossal vase, entirely unfamiliar to me, occupied a prominent spot beside the bed. Hurrying back to the living room, I discovered my mother-in-law casually munching on rice crackers, their crumbs scattering onto the floor mat. Ignoring the incongruity of the situation, I struggled to find my voice. "Did you go into the bedroom?" I finally managed to inquire. Nonchalantly, she replied, "Yes, I went in." "Did you put that vase there?" I pressed. "Yes, I put it there," she affirmed. It was a massive vase adorned with a Japanese pattern, entirely out of place in our Western-style room. Perplexed, I questioned her choice, to which she responded, "It's a vase. It's obvious by looking." My disbelief intensified as she nonchalantly started eating chocolate, seemingly oblivious to the precious nature of the vase, a gift from a colleague's overseas trip. Frustration welled up within me, but my mother-in-law remained unperturbed. As she enjoyed herself, I voiced my concerns about the vase, questioning its presence in our bedroom. Unfazed, she remarked, "The bedroom was so bland and uninteresting. The atmosphere is much better now, isn't it? It fits so perfectly, like a vase in its rightful place." My bewilderment deepened. If someone found a giant vase beside the bed interesting or atmosphere-enhancing, I felt compelled to question them for an extended period. I couldn't fathom why she brought such an out-of-place item here herself, rather than through delivery. In the midst of my astonishment, my mother-in-law casually asked for dinner, completely overlooking the absurdity of the situation. Fed up, I finally mustered the courage to request her departure. "Can you please go home? If this keeps up, I'll get fed up." Initially, I thought her actions stemmed from loneliness, but now that sentiment eluded me entirely. Despite her endless demands, she busily ordered me around, expressing dissatisfaction with my efforts to maintain the house. Frustration and exhaustion overwhelmed me. Exasperated, I reached my limit, offering her my treasured cookies to expedite her departure. Finally, she left quietly, and in my desperation, I cried out to my husband Jim, pleading for intervention. "Jim, please do something about your mother," I implored. But my husband, seemingly unfazed, dismissed the issue. Well, even if you say so, Mom must be feeling lonely, I guess. Uttering these words, he downplayed the situation, leaving me in disbelief. It felt as though my mother-in-law was attempting to take over our home, a sentiment I struggled to articulate until that moment. However, my husband, remaining indifferent, insisted it was not a problem. Frustrated, I contemplated the implications of allowing things to continue unchecked, realizing it might play right into my mother-in-law's hands. Exasperated, I exclaimed, "Forget about the vase. I think this is a problem." Yet my husband, wearing a frown, remained dismissive. "Taking over is an exaggeration. It's fine. She's just looking after the house while we're away. We don't need her for that. We have a home security system. Then should we cancel it?" Saving money is not the point. My husband just doesn't understand. Even if I ask him to talk to his mother, he always ends up doing whatever she says. It's mother over wife, a mama's boy, huh? Yet, my mother-in-law's visits show no signs of stopping. She's staying over more frequently. Is her takeover project progressing smoothly? Why am I have to sleep on the sofa? I miss my bed. After my father-in-law passed away, we felt sorry for her, and perhaps we've been too kind. Is this what they call taking advantage of the situation? As I pondered what to do, my boss at work summoned me, concerned that I might have made a mistake. Worried, I went to see what it was about. "Think you could go on a business trip abroad?" he said. A business trip overseas. A chance to escape my mother-in-law's grasp and get some souvenir chocolates from a colleague. It's not like that. Being selected for an overseas business trip signifies promise for the future, an unwritten rule in our company. No, it's different. I'm moving up. We couldn't have children, but in return, I devoted myself to my work, and it paid off. It seems God is watching over me. My response? Of course I am. I immediately said okay. "Are you sure it's okay, leaving for a month?" My boss asked. "It's fine. Mom's here after all," I replied. As I looked at my husband, anxious about him taking care of the house in my absence, he confidently smiled and reassured me. But it's his mother that I'm worried about. When I returned from the trip, there might be more pots. "My dear, leave the house to me. I won't let anything bad happen. I'll take care of it until you return," my mother-in-law declared with confidence. It's because of her that I'm worried. In the end, the business trip went too smoothly and got extended. Before I knew it, 3 months had passed, and now I'm back home. Oh, how I've missed this place. Yes, it's nostalgic. Nostalgic? But why is our house under renovation? I closed my eyes for a moment, hoping it's a dream, but when I opened them, it was still the same. What I saw was my home transformed by additions and alterations. I dashed into the house. "Oh, welcome back. You're late," my mother-in-law greeted me nonchalantly. "Mother-in-law, what on earth is going on here?" Well, we're remodeling. We needed to make it a two-family home to live comfortably." "A two-family home?" Then my husband appeared. "Oh, welcome back, May. You were gone for a long time. Dinner will be simple tonight." It's not just about having a simple dinner. Why am I just back from a business trip expected to cook dinner? But that's not the main issue. "What have you done without telling me?" "What do you mean? We remodeled for cohabitation. It's better to have a two-family home, right? Why did you do it without asking me?" As I confronted him, my husband looked at me as if it were a trivial matter. "This house is in my name, isn't it? I can do what I want with it." But still. "Oh, come on, stop making a fuss." As I was about to say more, my husband scratched his head in annoyance and looked at me with a changed tone. "It's fine, isn't it? It's more convenient to have Mom around. It'll make things easier for you two, so you can focus on your work. And yet, you expect me to cook dinner? Housework is a wife's duty, right? You've been slacking off for 3 months. You can at least do that." I felt a wave of exhaustion hit me at my husband's words. Slacking off? Did he just say that? How busy I was overseas, working from morning till night. I didn't even have time to buy a single chocolate bar despite being abroad. And the torment didn't end there. Oh yes, I've turned your room into mine. What? So, where is my room? Did you add it in the extension? There's no such thing. That extension is entirely my living space. But I wanted a room on this side too, so I turned it into a Japanese-style room. What's with the lucky you at the end? I asked, my eyes wide in disbelief. Then, where is my room? That's what I'm saying. You don't have one. What? A daughter-in-law doesn't need her room. Let's see, if I had to say, your room would be the kitchen, right? Lucky you. I was speechless. She took over my room for herself, and now, while I'm working, she dares to assign the kitchen as my room. A quiet flame of anger began to smolder within me. Then my mother-in-law brought out some documents. You earned money on your business trip abroad, right? Here, take care of this. What is this? What does she mean by take care of this? I looked at the documents and nearly fainted. $160,000. The total cost of the recent renovations was written there. I was shocked at the astronomical amount and confronted my husband. Hey, how do you plan to pay for this huge amount? We haven't even finished paying off the house loan. How are you going to manage with your salary? We already had a loan for buying this house. And on top of that, I couldn't imagine we could get a loan for another $160,000. Could it be my father-in-law's inheritance? No, that doesn't make sense. There wasn't that much money. As I pondered in confusion, my husband looked at me with an equally puzzled expression. What are you talking about? It's obvious that you're going to pay. May, that's right. May, we're relying on your earnings. You'll have to work hard and earn a lot for our sake, they said, as if it was the most natural thing in the world. In other words, they intended to make me pay the arbitrary renovation cost of $160,000. At that moment, something inside me cooled and then froze over. I was done. These two were no longer needed in my life. Asterisk clang, 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 asterisk. It felt like I heard the gong signaling the end of a match. So shall we proceed to a no-holds-barred brawl outside the ring? My actions after that were swift. I took the luggage I had brought back from the business trip and left, ignoring their attempts to stop me. I booked a room in a business hotel and started taking action. The next day, I returned to the house. The sight of the changed home brought a wave of sadness. As I stood there, my husband came out seeing me. May, where the hell have you been, and what have you been doing? I just had some errands to run. Forget about that and take care of the house. The construction isn't finished yet, and there's a lot to do. I glanced at my yelling husband and entered the house without a word. Hey! He chased after me, flustered as I ignored him. Oh, May, where were you last night? We had steak especially for you. Oh yes, here's the bill for the meat. Since you weren't here to eat it, it's your responsibility to pay. You left on your own, after all. I was handed the receipt. Slowly, I took it, and then I tore it. Asterisk rip. Who? Rip? Who? Rip asterisk. I tore it into 2, then 4 pieces, scattering them all around. Then I blew the shredded pieces of the receipt towards my mother-in-law. What are you doing, May? Even if you tear it up, I remember the amount. Shut up, be quiet. My response to my hysterical mother-in-law was undoubtedly cold. Overwhelmed by my demeanor, she quieted down, making a strange noise in her throat. Hey, May. Sensing something unusual in my aura, my husband cautiously spoke to me. Ignoring him, my mother-in-law yelled at me. What's with that attitude? Modern daughters-in-law are just fine. I'll forgive the steak bill, but make sure you pay the $160,000 for the renovation. Why should I? Why? Because you're the daughter-in-law, existing to serve your mother-in-law and husband. At those words, I snorted derisively. I won't pay. We are strangers now. My husband was shocked by my words. In front of him, I slammed a piece of paper on the table. This is a copy of the divorce papers. I've already submitted the original. Surprised, my husband picked up the paper. It was exactly as I had said. Do you remember what we promised before we got married? Let me think. What was it? The promise my husband and I made before marriage was that if either of us betrayed the other, we had prepared divorce papers with the understanding that if either of us betrayed the other, we would immediately divorce. It was like a talisman, something we thought we would never actually submit. But now, I'm glad I had them prepared. I had kept the divorce papers in a safe deposit box and submitted them yesterday. Since we are now strangers, there's no need for me to pay any money. I just came to pick up my things. Today, I've already found a new place, so I'll leave once I've packed my belongings. What? Wait, May, this is a joke, right? The biggest joke was thinking you were my husband. Why should I live with people who mock me? But we're married. Not anymore. Marriage is about discussing and deciding important things together. Someone who makes major decisions alone like you isn't a husband. Why don't you live happily with your beloved mom? But. My cold words made my husband break down in tears, but it was too late for regrets. It's good to care for one's mother. However, that should be balanced with caring for one's wife. The moment he disregarded me and followed his mother's wishes, our marriage was over. This house is in your name, right? I saw the estimate yesterday, and the contract is under your name. Good luck paying back the $160,000. I waved my hand cheerily as he collapsed to the floor in shock. As I started gathering my things, my mother-in-law grabbed my arm. Hold on, May. You can't just do as you please. I don't need your permission. It doesn't matter what a stranger thinks of me. What? As she was at a loss for words, I remembered something and handed her an item. Here, as a housewarming gift for the renovation. Be sure to display it in your room. What is this? It's a vase. I placed a palm-sized vase in my mother-in-law's hand. It was oddly colorful, oddly shaped, and had a particularly mediocre design. The most time-consuming task yesterday was finding this vase. Believe it or not, it cost $1. You're lucky, aren't you, mother-in-law? Stop joking around. What about the $160,000? Well, I'm just a stranger now. As my mother-in-law cried out with tearful eyes, I, laughing to tears myself, quickly packed my belongings and left the house. What happened after that? Well, the two of them, who had completely relied on my income, seemed to be living quite poorly. They couldn't possibly make payments on the original loan plus an additional $160,000. My mother-in-law sold her own house, but it didn't amount to much and was far from enough to cover the costs. As for my husband, he was already dealing with reduced pay due to poor business performance. The shock of our divorce might have contributed to him making repeated mistakes at work. He was demoted, resulting in a significant salary decrease. I remember receiving messages from him filled with pleas for help. I can't pay the loan, and they're going to seize the house. My mother's behavior has been strange lately. She accuses me of being a thief, wanders around the neighborhood. It seems they might have to let go of the house. With that shock, my mother-in-law was probably seeing his messages. I replied briskly, "Work hard for your mom, who's more important to you than your wife." And then I set my phone to block his calls. As for me, work was going well. My skills were recognized, and it seems I might soon be offered an overseas position, not just a business trip. Freed from the ill-fated ties, a bright future surely awaits me. Looking up at the contrails in the sky, I took a deep breath.